Welcome to the Rainbow Rundown,
We meet you where you at, and we take you where you want to be.
featuring this month's guests.
Hi, my name is Melina.
What's up, y'all? It's Zach again.
The Rainbow Clubhouse is a rehabilitation program which provides a safe and supportive environment, forging new relationships and uplifting members.
Now please sit back, relax, and enjoy this month's Taste of the Rainbow. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to this month's episode of the Rainbow Rundown. I should not say this month, though, because we've had a pretty steady stream of podcasts coming out recently, which I'm pretty excited about. We've had a lot more member interest in running the podcast and getting involved and telling their stories, so I'm really excited about it. So I'd say expect 2 a month, but we'll see. Right now, they're kind of rolling out pretty erratically, and we'll just keep it moving as long as people want to keep being involved. So we're here today with a very exciting guest, a new member as well, which is very exciting, someone who's getting pretty involved pretty fast, which is something we love to see. Sitting to my right is Melina. How are you today?
I'm doing great, actually.
Very good. Well, I'm happy to have you here. Before we begin hearing about you and your journey to Rainbow and, talk about recovery and the importance of it, I want to remind every member who's listening to get involved with the work order day, just stress the importance of being involved in that. We got, obviously, there's always some changes going on in Rainbow, but things have been pretty consistent for the most part, and we love seeing people keep showing up, returning, maybe people we haven't seen in a while, coming back, doing their part and keeping the clubhouse clean, operating, keeping it moving and grooving, and doing their part. So we've had a lot of fun things on the horizon that we talked about every day during community meetings. So, please show up in the morning to have your unit meeting and at lunchtime for the community meeting. So that's all my preach for Rainbow. Let's jump into it. So Melina, why don't you tell me how you found your way to Rainbow?
Well, I began my journey in recovery with Able House, and I started coming to Upper for OTP, which is outpatient therapy. And basically, I'm trying to find a good way to say it. I started coming every day, and everybody kept saying, hey, there's this place on the second floor that's really cool. You get to become a member. They do different things. They basically help you go back to work. And I'm like, really? I've never had a job because I've been an addict. Like, my job has been addict for the last 16 years.
It's a worrying one to put on your resume, but sure. It's a top title.
Top title, addict.
Yeah.
But that was a full-time job, man.
Right, yeah.
It really was, and I'll get more into that in a few.
Sure.
But so I come up to Rainbow and I see Jessica, and I'm like, hey, Jess.
Shout out Jessica.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, Jessica. I heard about you, and I was wondering if I could join the clubhouse. She goes, well, right now we can do an intake. I said, okay, sure, an intake sounds good. And she comes and she's like, you know what? Right now I can't do it. Can you come back tomorrow? She's thinking I'm not coming back, right? Because she tells me this all the time. She goes, I did not think you were coming back. I show up here at 9 a.m. the very next day, and I'm like, I want to become a part of this. I need to become a part of the community if I'm going to stay sober.
Yeah.
And so that's how I became a member.
I'm assuming she did the intake at 9 a.m. that day.
Yeah.
Something like that. Something around that time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow. So how have you felt Rainbow has helped you in that way? Do you feel like it's been helpful? Have you felt like embraced by the community?
Definitely. I get to play. But that's what I call it, because it's not really a job. But I get to do reception work. I get to use a computer. There's different things that you guys offer. I don't like to clean.
That's okay.
And so I don't. But there's a lot of people who do. Tony does a really good job.
Yeah, shout out Tony. Tony was also a member of the podcast. I think he was episode 4 or 5 or something like that.
Tony's one of my favorite people downstairs. He really is.
I shouldn't play favorites, but mine too.
Yeah.
Well, he's great. I think he's a model example of how you can utilize our services, the business services, but especially Rainbow,
I think he was the one that told me about it, actually, now that I think about it.
Makes a lot of sense. That makes so much sense. That works perfectly. Wow. Yeah. Wow, okay, well, I'm happy that it's working out. So have you felt embraced by the community in your time here, especially as somebody who's newer?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the members, or some of the members, not a lot of the members that I know are my brothers and sisters at the house.
Oh, okay.
So, we
Yeah.
we kind of like come here together, and then I come up here to get away from them just to come and see them again, which is
Right.
great because it means that they're benefiting from this too, and that's an amazing thing. So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You were just telling us during our community meeting today, again, shout out community meetings, please show up to them, that you just got your wings with Able House. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what that means? Because that's a big deal. I'm going to put in, maybe if you're listening to this podcast, you might hear some celebration noises in the background. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and what that means?
So, it just basically means that I don't need an escort. I don't need to be escorted anymore. It means that they trust you to go into society and do the right thing. I mean, obviously, there's still drug tests and stuff like that
Yeah,
that I have to do. But they trust me well enough to know that I'm going to come to Upper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to hang out, do everything, basically do everything that's sound and safe in the community, within the community, and that I'm going to make it back home in time.
That's a big deal. It's a huge deal that you're earning that much trust. I mean, trust and respect, I think, especially if that kind is earned, especially in these kind of programs, you know? So, that's a big deal, and that's not something to scoff at, you know? So congratulations. That's
Thank
really
you.
great.
I think it really is. It's definitely earned.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never in my wildest dreams would have thought that I would have been in any program, let
Really?
alone a program like this.
In Able or Rainbow?
In Able
Yeah.
and Rainbow.
Oh, good.
I never really, I mean, after I graduated high school and did my little bit of college, I really got into the drug scene, and I kind of just never left until now. And so I'm essentially 15. I'm
Right.
essentially 15, and which is a good and bad thing because I get to learn all these new things
Right.
and grow and experience new things. So it's great.
So you said you began using when you were 15.
Yes.
How did that, not to go into too of a deep place, but how did that shape kind of the person you became in those later years? Because 15, you know, your brain is soup. It's forming. You're heading into high school. You're having all these I guess you're already in high school at that point. You're forming.
I was a sophomore.
Yeah, you're forming all of these, major events in your life. So how did that inform those few years?
It essentially just made me like a big kid. Like I never grew up. You like Peter Pan syndrome, basically. Sure. I was 15 then, and I was 15 when I stopped using. I never experienced growing up. I never got a house. I never got a car. I never went to college. Well, I did go to college, but I didn't stay in college.
Right.
I basically started selling drugs in college.
Gotcha.
And it was a downfall from there.
Wow. I mean, it's a, I think it's a story that a lot of people have their own versions of in that kind of way, how it takes over your life so fast. I'm sorry, keep going.
Every addict
Yeah.
has a different story, but our pain is the same.
Right.
That's all that it is.
I just wanted to sit with that because it's powerful.
Yeah. I laugh a lot when I'm nervous.
No, it's okay. You have no reason to be
No.
nervous. And we were just talking, I think this is something I've mentioned in other podcasts as well, or especially in one-to-one meetings with members of the clubhouse, but when it comes to recovery and addiction and even mental health, right, you start to repeat these phrases of wellness, recovery, strength, positivity, and though they're all completely true, you begin to say them so much that they feel less and less true. And it's I think it's very important to have somebody every now and again remind you how difficult it is and how incredible it is of what you're doing,
Yeah, I sometimes forget just how grateful I should be. I can't even stress just how much addicts were people who essentially we don't want to be who we are. We want change, most of us anyway. And even when we're in despair and we're stuck in active addiction, we want that change. We want to be better. We don't want to disappoint our families or friends. We want to be a part of the community. We want to serve. But there's this monkey on our back that just basically, I call it the monster. The monster just kind of takes over and there's nothing you could do. Yeah. You feel helpless until one day you're so down, you're so deep in despair and tired and exhausted, like that, tired of being sick and tired. Because I've been tired before, But it wasn't until I was sick and tired of being sick and tired that I came and really got help. And now I can say, like, I'm a completely different person.
Wow.
In just 81 days, because I've only been sober for 81 days.
Well, get rid of the only, because 81 days is also a big deal. You know, that's a huge deal.
Well, they say in NA 1 day clean is a record.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. It's the longest I've ever been clean since I was 15 years old.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah. I almost got my 90 and 90.
You almost what?
90 and 90.
What is that? Can you tell us
90 meetings, 90 days.
Oh, okay. So you're building up towards that?
Yeah.
Wow. You've said a few phrases that I'm kind of familiar with, and it's mostly because of people in the program. But you said monkey on your back, sick and tired of being sick and tired. Can you tell us more about what those phrases mean to you, especially monkey on my back or monkey on your back or however it is?
Yeah, the monkey on your back is definitely the one that really gets me because the drug is like the monkey on your back. We have to get high. There is no like, I think I'm going to get high today. It's like you wake up. I wake up and I want to get high. A lot of people are different when they explain this, but to me it's like this. I'm an addict, which means I want to get high whether it's a good day, a bad day, so-so day. It's a feelings disease. If I feel anything, I want to get high because I don't want to feel anything. And so the monkey on my back is just that, what I just explained.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never known what it meant before. You know, I mean, kind of, but never to that extent. Is that something that you've learned on your own? Has it been taught to you by a mentor?
No, I learned that from just listening. In the rooms, but I basically learned that on my own. There's no right way to get clean. You just do it.
Right.
And I didn't know that for a long time. I mean, I remember there were times where I felt so, like, crying with a stem in one hand, right? And a lighter in the other, and just begging God to please let this be my last hit. I can't take it anymore. I don't want this anymore. I'm disappointing my mom, my dad, my grandparents. I'm disappointing my child. I abandoned my 4-day-old son because I couldn't be a mom. No matter which way I try to spin it, that's basically it. I left my son in the hospital, went home, and never went back for him. He was born 2 pounds, 2 ounces. And I just left him there. And it's not because I didn't love him. It's because I didn't know how to stop using.
Right.
I didn't have a crib. I didn't plan for him. There was nothing. I had nothing.
Yeah.
And that moment I said, I'm going to get sober. And I went and I tried to get sober, but I tried to get sober for him. It wasn't for me then. And it didn't work. 30 days in the program, left, used the second I left the program. The second I was by myself on my own, I used. So this whole wings and that trust that they give me to come here every day and not use, and the fact that I don't use and go back home every day.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal and a huge accomplishment as well. So I feel that, you know, don't ever let yourself get to a point where you say it so much that it lessens its impact. Because what you're doing is amazing. It's something I don't think 99% of people could do. And that's worth celebrating every
addict,
day.
Every addict has the ability to get clean. Every addict. They just need to do it. There is no wanting. You can want it, because I've wanted it for a long time and never could get it. You just gotta wake up one day and decide, I'm not gonna use.
Right.
Not I don't want to use, because I still want to use. I'm not going to use, no matter what. No matter what happens to me, I refuse to pick up. Because if I don't pick up, I can't get high.
Right. Yeah. Have you felt that in the recent years you've begun to kind of connect with your 15-year-old self?
Yeah. In recovery, I actually wrote a letter to my 15-year-old self. They told me to do that in therapy. And I'm writing this letter, and I'm like, girl, whatever you do, don't use drugs, stay in school, to basically all the things that I would say to my child. I, you know,
Sure.
I said to myself, and then I read it, I burnt it, and I thought about it, and it's okay that I didn't do the things that I was supposed to do. What's important is that I'm responsible for who I am now, today. I'm not responsible for the things that I did when I was in active addiction, but I am responsible for my recovery.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I take that so seriously. Like, above everything comes my recovery, even above my child. And now I get to put him first, which is great.
Do you still have contact with him?
Yes. Oh my
That's
God.
amazing.
Justice is amazing.
Is his name Justice?
Yes, his name is Justice
Wow.
Michael Alexander. I have a bracelet with his name.
Oh, I mean, nobody can see it, but for our audio listeners, it's a beaded bracelet that says Justice on it. It's gorgeous, might I add.
Thank you.
Did
I
you
made
make
it in
yourself?
rehab.
Oh.
And it was like kind of, so I could look down and remind myself why I need to stay sober.
Yeah.
I have a little boy who is 19 months. And if I work hard enough right now, I can get him back. And it's not like that for other women. There's women that they chose too late and their kids are already gone in the system.
Yep.
And they have no idea where these children are. And they live with that regret. I have a chance right now if I do everything that I need to do. And if I work really hard to get him back. And that's all that matters to me.
Yeah. Well, it's a really good centralized goal. You know, it's something to hold on to. It's something to grab onto during your recovery.
It is. It's kind of what helps me stay focused and centered. Is I want to be a mom. And I can't be a mom if I'm using.
Right.
You can't do anything when you're using but use. Yeah, sure, there's people that say, oh, well, I'm not that bad of an addict because I still had a job. How long until you lose it?
Right.
Because I had that. I had the job, I had the apartment, I wasn't homeless.
Right.
But how long until you lose it?
Before the monkey takes over. Yeah.
Exactly. It always does. The monster wins.
Right.
Until you go. And the only way that I stay clean is through NA. There's other ways to recover, but the way for me was NA. NA keeps me going. I hear other people, and I hear how long they got clean, and I'm like, I want that.
Right.
How did they get that? They stayed in the rooms. They go.
Put in the work. Yeah.
They put in the work.
Yeah.
They do the step work. And step work is just basically working on yourself. You have to work on yourself. Because remember, I'm still 15.
Right.
So I got to work on myself.
I have a question, and stop me if it gets too, metaphorical, but do you feel, and this is kind of on the way that you've been talking about both of them, but do you feel you see your son as kind of an extension of your 15-year-old self? Or do you feel they're kind of grouped together in that way?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I see that if I can do everything right for him, he will never have to know the life that I lived. He won't have to go through, because my mom was an addict. I should start there.
Sure.
My mom was an addict. And it was really bad growing up. And so I didn't know any other life but drugs. I thought it was normal. Like, I just said this in therapy, until I was 8, I thought that our parents shot up at home.
All of them.
All of them. Because it was medicine.
Right.
So I just thought all parents did that. And I didn't know the difference. My son will never know that.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to.
Right. I mean, how could you know the difference, you know? And there's children's minds are like sponges, and like that's kind of common knowledge. You know, children are very impressionable, but you put yourself in a position where you think back to the experiences you had as a kid, right? And like you just said, you know, you thought it was normal because what else would you have thought it was?
Yeah.
So, and before we started recording, actually, you were telling me that like when you were developing that age, and again, stop me if I'm wrong, but when you were developing and when you were growing up in that household with your mom, that you thought that would be your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really did. I never in a million years thought that I would get sober. My mom is 61 years old, and she's still in active addiction. I, in my wildest dreams, never thought that I could be living this life, and it is an amazing life. I pray that anyone and everyone in addiction seeks help and gets to live a second life. Because that's what this is. This is a second life for me. This is something that I never thought in a million years I would be living. I wake up every day and I'm safe and I'm in no harm. And I'm in my clear mind. I know what I want to do. I have a schedule. There's people who miss me if I'm not there. It's amazing. Yeah. I love it.
What's important? It grounds you, you know? Other people are aware and conscious and you know, concerned in a good way about how you're doing. Especially not to make it too rainbow-centric, but like when, and this is something I don't think everybody knows, but as a staff, when you're brought on, when we do an intake with you, you become a category of our buddy. It's technically what it's called, right? And so you technically fall under Jessica's buddies. It's basically anybody that you bring on and do the intake for. And you, oh my God, you guys are on our minds constantly. I can't tell you how many times, and you know, I won't name names of people who are my buddy because I don't want to kind of drop that veil or whatever, but like, I'm thinking about people who I haven't seen. I'm thinking about the last time I saw somebody was. We're doing outreaches to make sure we can stay in contact with them. Without saying the name of the individual, the person at the community meeting today who spoke about how well things are going with their life and you know, buying the property, they're one of my buddies. Yeah. They're one of my buddies, and I think about them all the time because that's what this is. If nothing else, this is a community of people who care for you and care about how you're doing, you know, and I think that is so important. Providing a safe space, here or otherwise, right? A safe space that you can return to, that you have the right to always return to, and the right to be cared about. Right, to be thought about and cared about and you know, sought after when we don't see you.
I think that's really important. It matters to me. Like, I didn't come here for like 2 weeks. Right. No, not 2 weeks. Maybe like a week and a half.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And I came. It wasn't 2 weeks. I usually come here every day.
Yeah.
Jessica goes, "Where were you?"
Yeah.
She goes, "I was worried about you," and I'm like,
yeah.
I had to be back at the house. I had a lot going on. I was trying to make a meeting every day because I'm doing my 90 and 90. So I'm like, I'm trying to make my meetings.
You're so close, by the way.
I'm so close.
What, you're 8 days away?
Mm-hmm.
So that'll mean next Saturday. So I'll see you. Sorry, now this is
You'll see me when I have my chip.
That's true, but I'll see you also on your 89th if you're here next Friday.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting. And then if you come in that Saturday, then I'll let people know. Maybe we can celebrate. Which is because it's a big deal. You know, maybe if you come, maybe you don't. Either way is fine. We'll celebrate when you
I'm like, I don't know about Saturday. I want to go. I want to see my son.
Okay, yeah, of course.
I want to see my son.
I
see my son.
We're selfishly planning on podcast time.
No.
We'll celebrate when we see you.
I would probably stop by if I have the time.
Don't even worry about that. Your son's
But
more
my
important.
baby, I want to go see him so bad, and I want to celebrate my 90-day trip with him.
And that's so wonderful. That's amazing. And again, like, it's kind of also celebrating because. What are our children if not an extension of you, you know?
Oh my God,
so
he
it's
looks
celebrating
just like me. he has my mannerisms.
Sure.
But he has his dad's hair. But other than his dad's hair, everything is me.
That's super special.
I'll show you.
Show me after.
I'll show you after.
I have a few more questions. The podcast won't be able to see it anyways. But
yeah. Oh my God, I'm like a regular mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I never thought I would be a regular mom.
Did you were you born in New York?
Yeah, I was born in Far Rockaway, which is a pretty hard place to grow up.
Why? Tell me about that.
Oh man, it is the hood of the hood. There's only one way in and one way out. And I grew up basically in the projects. It was just a lot to take in. Put it like this, I never forget this one, just to show you like the type of place that I lived in. I remember being outside after school and hearing shots and ducking. And when we looked, there was a kid. His name was something White. And he was on the ground. They shot him in the head. And that was just like a typical weekday. Yeah.
What role has because I think this is another thread through a lot of people here a lot of addicts in New York who share it. What role has this city played in your addiction, and then oppositionally after that,
Wow.
what has it played in your recovery?
That's a big one.
It's a big one.
You know what? New York, I love New York, right? But when I leave New York, I'm a very sober person. When I'm here, there's so much drugs in New York City. Everywhere you go, even on the way here, I'm in a sober house. And when I walk out of my sober house, there are crack cat vials. As a matter of fact, there was one full on the floor, and I could have picked it up and used. I didn't, but I could have. And I thought about it. I really did. Because I was like, man, they sell stems right there at that store. It's so easy to find drugs in New York City. Everywhere you go. I've been in every neighborhood, essentially, buying drugs. For 20 years, no matter where, because no matter where I go, I gotta have drugs. That was my thing. I had to have, because it's not like that anymore. But I used to do drugs everywhere I went. I'd be on the train. I was that crackhead on the train smoking crack in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And expecting them to just deal with the smoke.
Right.
And it's common in New York. It's not something that's like,
common,
yeah, people won't flinch if they see it because it's so common. My neighborhood played a huge role. My home played a huge role. My house was a trap house. I grew up in a trap house. So it played a large role as to where can I find drugs, how to use drugs. I knew exactly what to do and how to do it. It wasn't like my friends came and said, want to do drugs or anything. I was by myself. I chose this life by myself.
Well, I mean, I think also you were born into this life, though, you know? In a way.
Yeah.
And, you were born into that, you were, and I'm not trying to disagree with your story.
No.
Absolutely, but, like,
you're right.
To give yourself some credit, you didn't have a safe space. And it wasn't necessarily like, these were to somewhat a degree things that were given to you.
Yeah.
And as a child, you don't have that much autonomy over what is given to you and what influences are had on you.
It's common.
Yeah.
It's so common. I can't even begin to explain to you how common my story is. I'm not unique whatsoever. There's so many people that suffer like that. Because, addiction is a disease.
Yeah.
It's an insane mental disease. It's a mental disorder. And there's people who, they really don't know that there's help, that they can do it.
Right.
They're just stuck in the revolving door. That's addiction. Wake up, get high, run out of drugs, go find money to get high, just to go out and find more money to get high. That's how I lived my life for 16 years.
What role has, if any, has the city played in your recovery?
I thank God for New York. New York City is one of the few places where you can go into rehab. Like nothing. You got Medicaid, you're good. You go into rehab, they will help you go into detox, rehab. And detox is free.
Really?
Detox is free.
I did not know that.
If you have any medical insurance, you can find a detox. Now, rehab, Medicaid pays for. So if you have Medicaid in New York City and you're an addict, you can get help. You really can. And it's an amazing thing. And after rehab, they ask you, what do you want to do? What's your plan?
Right.
And you can say sober living. You can say long-term rehab. It works. Right. I went from rehab to sober living. And now I'm in the sober house, and it's great because I'm with like-minded people who suffered like I suffered, people who are going through what I'm going through. I get up every morning, and we say good morning to each other, and we talk about what we feel. We have morning reflection, which is, amazing. I love Able House, by the way.
Yeah.
It saved my life. They hold you accountable. And sometimes addicts need accountability at all times.
Yeah. It's interesting it's interesting and tragic, right? How New York, as an entity, as this city, can give you every resource and more to become an addict, but also offer you every resource to change things.
it's a business,
Right.
and you can look at it as a business, but you have to, as an addict, if you're an addict and you're looking at it like it's a business, nah, man, look at it as something like use the business to get help.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did. I used every resource that I had. I talked about it. I'm an addict. I need help. I need help.
Right.
Help me. You know?
Yeah.
And I got help. And then it's not just I got help. It's I wanted help. I got help. I got better. And I tried everything in my power to stay better.
Yeah.
I took their suggestions. I did everything that they told me to do. If they would have told me, you got to jump off Brooklyn Bridge to stay sober, I would have been like, okay, how high?
Well, it meant a lot to you, and it means a lot to you now.
Yeah.
It's a really big deal, you know, for yourself, for your child, for your past self, for your future self. It's a huge deal, and you know, I learn so much whenever I talk to people, but like, I think that people have a genuine authenticity to them that can't be faked. Some people do, and you know, some people don't, and it depends on where you're at in your life. But like, you are just it radiates off of you how much you care about this, how much it matters to you, how much your child matters to you, how much recovery matters to you. And for audio listeners, you were very excited to approach me to begin and have this conversation. Whereas some people don't know what they want to talk about. We come and
I
figure
know
it out.
exactly what I want to say.
Yeah.
Not exactly, but I know that this is a topic that needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
Not enough people talk about it, and it doesn't talk about it because of anonymity. I can never say that word.
It's a hard word.
And they don't really come out and talk. AA doesn't do it either.
Mm-hmm.
And the rehab centers and stuff like that, the counselors, they don't really care about it because it's not them unless they've been through it. And even then, no one talks about it. I really want to shine a light, and that's really what I want to do with the rest of my life. Shine a light onto recovery and say, listen, all you addicts that are suffering, please get help. I got help and it worked. There's hope.
Right.
Like, I promise you, it gets better.
Yeah.
It does. And people, there's a guy that we were living with at the house. I'm not going to say any names.
Okay.
He left.
Mm-hmm.
And it really shook me. Shook me because I watched him walk out the door at Upper.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, where you going? And he's like, I'll be back. You know, essentially. And I'm like, something
You could tell.
I could tell was wrong, but I didn't stop him, and I should have. And it's like, it's really bothering me lately because he's out there. And it's like, go back, get help, man.
Right.
Come back. There's a first chance, a second, a third, a fourth. As long as you're breathing, there are chances to get sober. It doesn't matter. With me, it was like whether it takes one time or 1,000 tries. My job for my son is to get sober. So I'm going to do it no matter what. I've been in and out of rehabs for the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
It finally stuck.
Right.
But I didn't stop. I didn't give up hope.
Right.
That's what I want to shine a light on. That's why I was so adamant about talking about it.
Yeah, and I'm excited that we have the opportunity to. And I want to kind of take a pause and tell you, like, as genuinely as possible, that that's not your fault. That person leaving, that is not your fault. And I know that that's going to haunt. I know things like that, they stick and they hurt. But you can't blame yourself for that, and you can't take responsibility for that. No. I don't know if that means anything or if that resonates.
I know that, essentially. It's just...
It's hard.
It's hard to know that there's someone... Because I know what that's like. I've been there. And I'm a very empathetic person. Like, people tell me something, and I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, I'm just... I'm that person.
You're an empath.
Who just cares. Yeah. I'm an empath. Big. On human emotion. And so when I'm hearing this, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
But that's the insanity of addiction. It wasn't really like a conscious decision for him. It was like, I'm here now. something happened, and we don't know what it is, but whatever it is took him back out, and that's the insanity of the addiction. Knowing for a fact that you're gonna end up in the street, broke, homeless, sick, no matter what it is, you know this, and you continue the cycle of addiction. That's our disease.
Yeah. The monkey, the monster doesn't leave.
Nope.
It's about keeping it in a cage, arrested. Yeah.
That's what we say. We say arrested.
Wow.
It's been arrested.
It's been arrested. I like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I ask people when we're having, conversations of these kinds, and I'm going to change it up a little bit, because sometimes I ask people what they would say to their younger selves if they could speak to them directly, but it sounds like you've already done that, so I'm going to flip it just a little bit. And if you had the opportunity, if a wormhole opened up right behind you, and you looked over your shoulder and you could speak to yourself a year from now, who do you want to be, and what would you tell her?
I want to be someone who helps the community, so I want to get my case act.
Awesome. That's amazing.
I want to help people
Yeah.
that are like me, that are me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do that in a way where I'm not sitting behind a desk or a computer just typing at them.
Yep.
I want to have conversations. I want to go out there and tell them that change is possible,
Mm-hmm.
and show them where I am, and tell them that they can get this too. They can get this recovery if they want it.
Mm-hmm.
They just have to be open. That's what I was. I was open and receptive, and I worked really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I work really hard.
It's constant.
It's constant. It's every day, every second of every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no bolt on the door. I can walk out. And that's the thing, is I feel so guilty. Because to me, when I was thinking about it, I heard he left, and I was like, thank God it wasn't me. Because I'm working really hard, and God forbid, like, I have a little boy, and that's all I kept thinking about. And then I felt like so bad. I'm like, his parents,
Right.
they were just beginning to trust him. Like, dude, this disease doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to spend the rest of my life dedicating it to this disease and trying to help people.
I mean, it is the most noble and practical goal, possibly we've ever had on here, or, in the program. A year to be able to get that is so possible and so plausible, and you're already so far on your path that, I don't know, it just fills me with hope, excitement for you, excitement in general. Yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of at a loss for words right now. It's a big deal.
If I stay sober,
Yeah.
I can do anything.
That's right.
That's the thing. I learned that.
It's just so uplifting to hear your story and to meet you and be able to have a sit down conversation. I hope, and I'm sure that anybody listening to this will agree. But it's like, what an incredible story, an incredible person you are. You mentioned earlier in the podcast that you're not unique, and I know what your point you were making and the sentiment of it was, but you are an incredible person. You are an amazing person, and not, and this is not Addict Central. This is just, every person on this earth. Not every person is an amazing person, and you are an amazing person. I hope that you remember always how amazing, how strong you are. I hope that you're able to listen to this at any point and remember your story.
Yeah, that was the point.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because now I can go back whenever I'm having a really bad day. I can go back and remind myself that I have a reason to stay sober.
Well, why don't, in that mind, I'm doing the same thing again, but to future you listening to this, why don't you speak into the mic and talk to her directly for a second?
You can do it. You can continue to stay sober. And I'm not just saying this to myself, I'm saying this to all addicts everywhere. If you work hard, if you continue to put in the work, take suggestions, stay open, you can do it, you can stay sober. And I'm proud of you. I'm really, really proud of you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and gifting us with your story and your strength. I think this is going to end up being the longest podcast we've ever had and possibly the most impactful.
You're welcome.
And I'm excited to see you. Don't worry. I'm excited to see you continue to progress and evolve in this program. Excited to see how this program evolves around you, because that's what it's all about. The program is meant to evolve around the people who make it up, and yeah, just I'm at a loss for words. I'm just filled with gratitude. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Yeah, I mean, we'll be back at some point in the next few weeks with another guest. Hopefully, we'll have Melina back again, which is very exciting.
Anytime.
I'm looking
Just
forward
invite
to it.
me.
I'm looking forward to it. You're always invited. So thank you all so much for listening. It was truly a pleasure to have this conversation. I'm really excited to get this published, and I'll see you next time on the next episode. All right. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye.